But it is hard to feel, like, to know that you don't really have as much money, but to feel like you can't help, like you can't do anything about it. And it's like, to a certain extent, you could say like, oh, well, you could have walked around the neighborhood and like mowed lawns for money, or like, but it's like, still, when you're that young, it's just kind of like you have to deal with it. And you want to lean on your parents, but it's even harder to, because you know how much they have to do and how much they have to work for it. So it's kind of like you really don't know what to do or how to help.
And he had even said, I wish I wouldn't have asked for something so expensive at Christmas. Like,
right.
that amount of guilt is
like you kind of just
heavy.
have to like take a step back, but at the same time you're like, I don't know, it's just like a weird balance.
And okay, I feel like you and me had something similar where we both grew up with not a lot of money at a school where the students had a lot of money, and that just, it makes you so hyper aware.
the comparison thing.
Like going over to a friend's house and like, oh yeah, we have 2 floors in our house.
Oh.
Like, and you're like, we have 6 rooms in our house.
Yeah. I think, at least in Michigan, ours was like, if you lived with a house with wheels under it, like a trailer and a mobile home, that was like really kind of, I don't know, unfairly judged, I think. And now people are like making tiny homes like it's cool. You know what I mean? Like it comes full circle, right?
It's
like
so stupid. You're paying a ridiculous amount of money for a very tiny house.
Yeah.
Because it's aesthetic.
Yeah.
Really, it gets me so mad because I lived in a trailer home for about, I want to say like about 10 years. It was when I was like in 2nd grade to end of 8th grade year. And seeing people on TikTok being like, oh, I'm gonna move to a trailer home.
Yeah.
It gets me so bad because I'm like, right, but where was this energy when my friends would come over?
Or even car living in your car, right? 10 years ago, people would have looked at you like you're kind of, I don't know, just alternative beyond that in a negative way, right?
Yeah.
Now it's like a hippie boho thing to be a nomad. Like
I've slept in my car before. It's not fun.
nobody is calling these people homeless either. They're calling them nomadic, or they're calling them adventurers and all this stuff. You know, like
Because they have a
slapping.
$3,000 backpack and they're living out of their car.
Right, and I mean, there's certain areas in cities, like, if you're caught sleeping in your car, they can actually take you.
Yeah.
So it's
Crazy
crazy to me.
Because like in our early on, my dad had like a really well-paying job, and so we were really stable. We were able to get like all the toys and we would eat out all the time and like spoil ourselves. And then when we lost that job, it was like we just lost all our money. So it was hard to like grow up like, yeah, everything's fine, I can get whatever I want, and then suddenly have to like budget and like even sell a lot of stuff just so that we could have like somewhat stable money. And especially for my little sisters, they're like toddlers, so it's hard to explain to them why they just can't have their stuff anymore.
Yeah.
So it was like,
I relate to that so
it was
hard.
a weird transition because it was just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
When my mom divorced my terrible abusive father, we had a lot of money, and then when she did divorce him, we had nothing. So it was completely going from like one age to a totally different.
Yeah,
Notice that as
yeah,
well?
no, because my parents split up it wasn't a long-term thing, but they did split up for a while, and I went from living in a 2-story house with a pool and everything to living with Patrick in this little condo, and I was like, what happened?
Yeah. And it's confusing because they don't explain it either,
Explain
you know? Luna, then Angel, then Matea.
That's what I want to say. It is bad. It is a crime. But like, I don't think people understand the kind of boost, I guess, the boost you can get from doing things like that. Because I was in a situation like that, and sometimes I think I might still be, but that tends to be the only thing you can rely on when it's under your circumstances. And if it weren't someone in my family for doing something like that, I wouldn't have been able to even get that trailer, just because my mom at the time, it was in the time of the recession, and she had me, and then she was pregnant with my brother, and she was working at a daycare that was only paying her like $9 an hour. So
That's
if
worse.
it,
That's
yeah,
terrible.
if And at that time, we were living still in a trailer, but we were living with my uncle with his family already of 5. That was only like 2 rooms, barely even 2 rooms, and like half a bathroom. And if it weren't for like that boost, I guess we wouldn't have been able to even like put the down payment on the trailer to finally get our own. And I don't know, it is a terrible thing. Like, people shouldn't do it, but sometimes, like you always said, it just sucks that that's what you have to do in order to get by, because the disadvantage is so unfair.
Do you think that that is pushed on both males and females, or mostly males?
I think it's, I want to say males, but I feel like it's pushed with anyone who's surrounded by it. Because, like, my mom would get judged a lot for it. And it's not like she was the one doing it. She was just married. She was partnered with someone that had to do it because it was the only thing they could do, the only thing that they were offered that would allow them to get by. So I really was telling my mom, you have to leave him. This isn't good for the kids. What are they going to see growing up? Like, they're going to see he's going to get deported, he's going to get this, he's going to get blah, blah, blah. And which, I mean, yeah, he eventually did, and it was this whole other thing aside from that. But that was the only thing that we could have done at the
So it was like
time.
pressure from both sides,
Yeah,
from both genders.
because she hated it too. She knew it was wrong, and she knew that the big risk that came with it.
I think it's
But-
a misconception that drug dealers like doing what they do.
Yeah, and my mom, she told me that she would sometimes go with him to make sure that he was safe, and to like have someone to be like, oh well, I have papers, like everything's fine here, like nothing's going on, like
Right.
we're just here together, we're going on a date, whatever. But I feel like anyone surrounded by it is immediately judged. But yeah, it probably is more steered towards the men, and the women are just like their partners in crime. Very Bonnie and Clyde. Yeah.
I understand that anger too. It's almost like a resentful anger. Like, you know that they're trying, but at the same time, like, you didn't do it good enough. You know, like, yeah, I definitely feel that. Thank you for sharing. Matea, then Wally.
I was gonna say it's really hard too, especially with children, because my mom, obviously I'm way older than my sister, so when she had my mom, like she was already on the older side, or when she had my sisters. So she had them like a year apart, and so when she had to she was a hairstylist, she had a good clientele, like she racked in a lot of money, like you can get a lot of money from doing hair.
Yeah.
But then when she had children, she had to go on leave, and then she had another one, so she lost a lot of clients, she lost a lot of people, we lost a lot of money because she had to stay home with the kids. And then when Dad lost his job, it was like everything was bad at the same time. So it's like it's hard with like children too, not just the point where it's like, oh, we have another mouth to feed. It's like, no, she literally couldn't work. Like she had to stay home with the kids like every day. Like she just couldn't work for like a year and a half, which was really hard.
So this is why I chose this particular diary entry. I think that it is important to understand that sometimes you have to be grateful for even the smallest thing you have, like breathing, or being able to come to school, even though if you don't want to be here. I understand. Right? Some people don't have that option or choice. All right, last one of today. Let's do diary number. Yes, Sid, go ahead.
I actually had a bit of a scare with my mom a few months ago because she has had endometriosis her whole life and didn't know it. And it got really, really bad to the point where we thought it might be cancer for a while.
Wow.
And she actually had to get it. So there was a lot of tissue built up on
Scarring of the uterus, right?
Yeah, it's extra buildup of tissue that's like, it's almost like scarring except you haven't been injured.
Oh.
And so there's like so much tissue built up on her ovaries and her like a good amount of her like cervix and uterus where she actually had to get one of her ovaries taken out and a good amount of her like uterus and stuff. So I mean, she doesn't get a period anymore, which is I mean a plus, but also she was out for like a few months after that surgery. She couldn't stand.
I found that, oh my gosh. I mean, they talk about C-sections and that's, you know, like kind of a common procedure. That, a hysterectomy, I feel like is
Yeah.
way more invasive.
Yeah, it
Like,
wasn't a full hysterectomy, which was good.
Yeah.
Because it would have been very expensive and she would have been down for a good amount of time. But there was a good amount taken out because it was just so much tissue buildup and it was making like so much pain for her. Which is crazy.
she's okay now.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. Number 26.
Your diary.
Or like in the back, but we have to have extra chairs like in the class. Yeah, and then somebody usually sits like, sometimes there are a couple people over here that kind of like sit on the corners and edges. But yeah, it's my most populated class for sure.
What is it? Ethan?
Yeah,
Do they listen at least?
60% of the time. Maybe.
I feel it's hard to listen in bigger classrooms anyways. Like
It's
even if
easier
I
to do group work and that type of thing because there's so many people you can choose from, but there's a lot of different cliques in that class as well. It's like very identified.
I like
groups.
this size of class because even though like we might not be friends with anyone, it feels like I kind of know everyone.
This size of class intimidates me more than the 38 though.
Really?
Because there's less room for me to hide and there's more sort of quality time and quality learning in here than there is.
God forbid.
But there's so many more beady little eyes staring at you.
You are
They're
terrifying.
No, but most of the time, those
You're
beady
not
eyes,
paying
They're not
like.
paying attention.
Also, I'm talking about money and finance and advertising, right? This class, it's terrifying sometimes to hear what you have to tell me and not cry in front of you, you know? So,
Have you been close?
huh?
Have you ever been close?
I just was. You just
Yeah, I
don't
saw
notice.
that. I saw that.
Well, some of you don't notice.
Well, I mean, yeah. You just get quiet, so I don't really.
That's my method of shutdown.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when I was punished as a kid, I would have extreme blow ups, and then they would just shove me in my room and be like, "You
Yeah.
can't come out until you can calm down." So I'd stay in there for the entire day. And then when they open my door, they're like, "Are you ready to come out?" "No, I still hate you," and then slam it. So that was cool. All right, enough of Story Lane today. How do we feel so far? Reading just 3 short diary entries.
I love this book.
Good, good. I'm glad.
So happy.
Okay. All right, we are definitely gonna watch the movie. I don't know if we'll watch all of the movie because there's some